What's the scene in this camera? Yeah. Hey Ramona, how are you? Oh, I can't hear her. Are you muted, Ramona, on your end? Okay, you're muted on your end.
I'm muted on my end. Good. Hey,
Good to see you.
it's good to see y'all too.
We,
I'm
Deborah,
moving faster on the foot too.
Deborah Love is in the building all day today.
She was?
Yeah, she is the counsel for the Virginia Commission of Arts.
Oh,
And-
yes.
And they had an annual meeting here. They've been, I think they're here today and tomorrow, but she's here with them. I told her, I said, you're welcome to come to the meeting, but she didn't respond.
Oh my goodness, that's great though. That's great because it's like I feel that I missed out not getting to drive down there and look at beautiful Abingdon and come and tour the facility. So when my foot is better, I just might just take a day off and drive out there.
We want you. I tell you what, I'm gonna step away right now because I had a disappointment that we are live on YouTube, and so we'll just be quiet for a second. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. why don't we just start with you and you kind of introduce yourself because you've not been here in person for a full board meeting.
My name is Scott Kemp. I'm the student loan advocate representing SHEV. And prior to that, I was at the community college and also at the Department of Ed. So I've worked with all three state agencies for education.
I had the privilege years ago in my community college career to work with Scott. We're so lucky to have him. Hannah?
Hi, everybody. I'm Hannah Ingram. I'm between two shows at Barter Theater, which is why I have makeup on like this. I'm one of the citizen members of the board, and I'm happy to be here to meet you all in person.
I'm David Matlock, and I'm Adam Hutchison, and I'm the president at Virginia Highlands Community College up the hill from my good friend David Matlock.
I'm Donna Stanley. I'm the Virginia Community College representative and a retiree of Mountain Empire Community College.
Hi, I'm David Olive, president at Bluefield University.
I'm Tricia Holtzman, I'm the provost at UVA Wise.
And Trish, you're new to several people here, but you've been on the job now. You came on the job right before COVID, right?
Halfway on the job,
Yeah.
right?
And you come to Southwest Virginia via.
The College of Charleston in Charleston, South Carolina.
Welcome. I'm glad to have you.
I'm Steve On. I teach at Holston High School. I'm Delegate Sam Rasul representing the Roanoke area. Good to be with you.
I'm Maria Colabro. I'm the citizen member for healthcare, registered nurse from here. And I've had the privilege of going to most of the schools around here between undergrad and postgrad.
Joshua Haley, citizen member for technology. Like Maria, attended most of the universities or been there listed. So.
Now, let's back up to Maria. You're a registered.
Registered nurse.
Registered
I got
nurse?
my MSN from, well, undergrad was Radford, then MSN Nurse in Education from King, and then I did some postmaster's work at ETSU, but we had Mountain Empire dual enrollment also in high school. So
And same
big
with you,
city
Josh,
traffic.
you did some dual enrollment at Mountain Empire because you're from that region, Pennington Gap, and you're an attorney.
Yeah. So well, first half of undergrad at Mountain Empire, then ETSU, then UGA for law school.
I'm Linda Gail Mitchell. I'm the executive director for the Southwest Virginia Alliance for Manufacturing. We're a nonprofit organization that serves manufacturing in the region.
I'm Joe Johnson. I'm a has-been.
That's not true. I can tell stories. Yeah. And I'll tell one in just a second. Our senators will get in here. Susan?
I'd like to hear the story. I'm Susan Parrish. I'm Dean of the College of Health Professions at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond. We have nurse anesthesia and medical lab sciences here.
Good. Did y'all hear all that on the Zoom call? Did y'all hear us? And so, Sandy, you want to start with you? We'll just let you introduce yourselves as well.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sandy Ratliff. I'm with Virginia Community Capital. I've been working in economic and community development for over 30 years. I started in kindergarten, and I'm happy to be with you tonight.
And then let's come down to Miss Susan Short, representing those Hokies.
Hey, everyone. Susan Short. I have the good fortune of serving Virginia Tech as the Associate Vice President for Engagement. And I am President Tim Sands' designee for today's meeting. It's at least good to see all of you.
To your right on the screen anyway, this is Miss Ramona Taylor from the AG's office. Ramona?
Hey, how is everyone doing? I'm sitting up here in my cold room and trying to behave. I wish I was there with you. But I've been with the AG's office for 7 years, and I've been the center's counsel for what, a year, 2 years now, right, David?
Yes, it seems like 2 months, but it's only been 2 years.
Yeah, we've been having a good time.
We have. Dr. Keith?
Hello, everybody. I'm Keith Perrigan. I'm superintendent of schools in Bristol, Virginia. And Delegate Johnson, it is so good to see you.
Well, guys, that's our board, and we have some visitors around the room, and we hope that everyone can stay. And as Senator,
I dropped off the call early. I apologize, everyone. He is still on the call, but it's wrapping up. So
what I was going to tell you, Senator Pillion, is the first thing that requires a quorum is that when we get ready to approve the minutes, if we could always backtrack if you wanted to.
Absolutely. Do we have a quorum now?
I think we just have a quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, you do. You do have.
I thought
12
so.
votes.
Great, I thought we had.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, great, okay.
You do have a quorum.
All right, well, again, I apologize for not being here for all the introductions, but I'll go ahead and I'll call this meeting to order, and all the people on Zoom, if you could go ahead and mute your lines unless you're speaking. Sandy, I will say it's great to see you. It's great to see you with some hair on your head growing back.
Merry Christmas to me.
We've all been thinking of you. So I'm going to now call on Steve to go ahead and do the roll call.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Maria Colabro.
I can't remember.
That is your name.
Present.
Perfect.
I know,
We
it's like
accept
he
all
directed me and I was in a hurry.
Joshua Ely.
Present.
Hannah Ingram.
Present.
Lenny Gale Mitchum.
Present.
Keith Perigin.
Present from Louisville, Kentucky.
Sandy Ratliff.
Here.
Brian Hemphill. Tricia Folds Bennett.
Here, present.
Adam Hutchinson.
Present.
Andy Casiello. Scott Kemp.
Present.
Alex Hernandez. Carolyn Laprie. Susan Parrish.
Present.
Susan Short.
Present.
John Wells. Delegate Chris Hurst. Delegate Mark Keene. Delegate Terry Kilgore. Delegate Sam Rasool.
Present.
Steve On is present. Senator Todd Pillion.
Here.
Senator Travis Hackworth. We'll mark when he comes in. Donna Stanley.
Present.
Joe Johnson.
Present.
And David Olive. Present. Thank you.
We do have a quorum.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. The next thing on our agenda, the next item is to approval of minutes from the June 10th, 2021 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? There, you can find those in your packet. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Opposed, like sign. So we have approved the minutes from the June 10th, 2021 meeting. I'm now going to turn it back over to our executive director, David Matlock, and he's going to do some updates, financial updates, and some other updates for us. David, take it away.
Sure. Well, good afternoon and welcome once again to the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. You know, I get the privilege of going all around the community, letting people know that we're a great place, doing great things because of great people. Before I go very far, a lot of those great people in the room, and they won't have an opportunity to speak today, but several of our college partners and our administrative staff for those partners are in the room today. And behind the red tab, it says college reports. There are some wonderful things happening here at the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. We're not going to spend any time on those today because each meeting we try to focus on something different. Today it's going to be the new apprenticeship program, but I can tell you to all the college presidents and those representing your colleges or the Virginia Community College System, these folks are doing a wonderful job at representing your institution. A lot of exciting things have been happening. Well, first of all, we're going to look at some financials. And let me just say this. We are an extremely efficient and effective organization, and it's reflected in our financials. If you'll open up under the blue tab, you'll see an updated financial as of December 1st. And a couple of things I'd like to point out. We received a base budget adjustment. You can see on the left-hand column what you approved at the June meeting and the actuals where we're at now for fiscal year 22. Since we were last together, we received an additional $203,000 in general fund money for some budget adjustments. Has to deal with some pay raises, insurance, cost of goods, several things. And then we have $9,224 in some CARES Act funds. So that brings the actual general fund revenue to almost $3.5 million. Under the non-general fund revenue, you can see what you approved. We are actually tracking extremely well there. The non-general fund carry forward revenue, we had projected last year we would end the year with $1.8 million in surplus. We are just a few pennies shy of $2 million, as you see there in the actuals. Underneath that, there's some restricted funds from the trust fund and then the maintenance reserve. We're in great shape. We do have $1 million sitting in our maintenance reserve fund. But I can tell you that we're going to have to spend about $600,000 to $700,000 of that to finish the window project. The window project, which was approved and passed last year by the General Assembly in a capital improvement bond in fiscal year 20 was approved. We didn't do anything last year, and cost of goods and contracting, that window replacement was approved at $700,000. And it's going to cost us $1.3 million to do that now. But we're going to be able to cover that difference with, we've got approval from DPB. We're going to use some of our maintenance reserve funds. So we're going to take a big bite out of that this spring. Commission and fees, where you can see we're tracking really well there. Total revenue so far right at $6 million for the year and a $7 million budget. So we're in really good shape there. On the breakdown of non-general fund revenue, the projections, we are tracking really well, and we are on track to finish above projections. The next couple of pages, and your financials could be printed on the back as we get into some operating expenses. You'll see personnel services. You can see where we're at. We're tracking right on budget there. We're going to probably come in a little bit under budget on personnel services. On the other page, you'll see other than personnel services, contractual services, supplies, equipment, and program support funds. Again, it appears that we're going to come well in under budget again. As I said, we're a very efficient and effective organization, state agency. And since COVID, since COVID, I'm signing all purchase orders of $100 or greater. And so we're trying to keep things under control, because you might say, well, David, you're tracking good, revenue looks good. That's true, but you're going to see in just a second that we have lost in revenue almost $500,000 in non-general fund revenue over the last 2 years because of COVID, what it's done to our conference services division. But as you can see right now, other than personnel services total there at the bottom, we have spent year to date right at $500,000 in total operating expenses, personnel and non-personnel. We're at $1 million, right at $1.4 million. Any questions about this piece before I go into the next thing behind your tab?
Anyone have any questions for David?
Okay, if not, I kind of promised you, it was in your minutes, that once we closed out the books in June, and we got into July, and we got to the end of July to August, and we could close out. These are some of the metrics that I track with, as far as key performance indicators for financial things. And you can kind of see going back all the way to 2011, and every 4 years I highlight in yellow and give you a 4-year average. You can see that we peaked out on non-general fund revenue right at almost $1 million in 2019. And then for 3 months of COVID, it fell to 836. And then last year, 653,000. So that's right there is $400,000 in non-general fund revenue that we did not receive during this COVID. And I kind of highlighted that in red over on the right-hand side. As far as carry forward, we have been efficient and effective, and that fund has been building. We're going to be spending some of that next year as we grow some programs with some of our partners. I already talked about the window project. So unless you have any questions, I'll move on to something else. Now, I do want to stress this to you. Those numbers are great, and we are very efficient. We are very effective. Revenue is up, trending up again, and expenses are well under control. And that's because of all the good people in this room, Mr. Chairman, that make it happen. We've got a great working team. When I tell people we're a great place doing great things, it is solely because of the great people. We could be a great place and we could do great things, but we never get accomplished without all the great people. Now, I mentioned in your packets about all the great things happening with your partners. So over the last 48 hours, Tuesday and Wednesday, our marketing young man, Sean Webb, and I, we ran around and we tried to capture some students between classes. Now, this isn't going to be one of those slick Channel 5 videos. We just took a camera. We said, hey, hold on, don't leave yet. And we tried to capture 5, 6 students. And I didn't get every university because every university didn't have students in the building on Tuesday and Wednesday. And I could have caught more, but I thought, if I put together a 5-minute video, financials are one thing, but seeing the real story is another. So I'm going to show you just 5 minutes real quick of some students that we caught in the hallways in the last 48 hours. Adam, you want to just start that? And we're going to share the screen for those of you calling in from Louisville, Kentucky, and other parts of the world. The sound will start with the first student.
Hey, I'm Tanya Buffalo, and I'm currently enrolled in the Radford School Counseling Program here at the Higher Ed Center. I am originally from Castlewood, Virginia, and actually still live there. I have worked in mental health as a day treatment counselor for many years, almost 14 years, and I had a desire to reach more students, interact more on a different kind of level. Radford and the Higher Ed made that accessible for me and easy. It's convenient to travel here. It's affordable, and it was something that worked for my family. I'm a full-time student. Well, I'm a full-time student, part-time student, full-time mom, and have a full-time job. And just this summer, I actually got hired as the school counselor at Wallace Middle School. So I have a counseling job, and I haven't even graduated. So check it out.
Hi, my name is Andrea Newton. I'm a family nurse practitioner student here at Southwest Virginia Higher Ed Center. I'm currently receiving my master's degree through King University. I'm an Abingdon High School graduate, and I attended Virginia Highlands Community College. I'm very grateful for Southwest Virginia Higher Ed Center because I am a full-time mom, a full-time employee through Valid Health, and otherwise I would not be able to obtain the dream of becoming a family nurse practitioner and serving my community. So I'm very thankful to have the opportunity here in Abingdon.
So my name is Thomas Holbrook. I grew up in Castlewood, Russell County area, and I graduated from high school from a small private school called the Learning Center in Castlewood. And I went on to Southwest from there, got 2 associate's degrees, one in general studies and administration of justice. And I decided to come on here to the medical lab sciences program because I didn't want to move too far away from home. And I thought this would be a good option to kickstart my scientific career. And the longer time I've spent here, I've learned more and more. Everything's really interesting. I absolutely love the work we're doing here, and I feel like I've got a promising future in this program.
I'm Austin Blankenship. I'm a student here at King University through the Higher Education Center. I'm in the Bachelor's of Social Work program. I came to King after taking a hiatus from school for a while because I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with my life. I was already working full time when I came back. And because of those things, the higher education program has allowed me to work with both the students that I love working with still and pursue furthering my career at the same time. And I'm very grateful for those opportunities. And the biggest plus for me has been the teachers and the staff at the Higher Education Center allowing us to stay a little bit later and go the extra mile for their students. And I've been grateful for the opportunities I've been given.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Mason. I am currently in the Master's in School Counseling program at Radford University here at the Higher Ed Center. I have an interesting background. I've always been interested in working with students and kids and have been involved in Washington County doing various state treatment programs through family preservation, Highlands Community Services. And all the while, I've still kind of in my mind have been wanting to see what I could do and go into extra school counseling. So one reason I had to put that off ended up being I took a chance back in 2019 and the great people at Radford and started the program. Of course, COVID happened, ended up losing my job, and which is a scary time. So worked really hard, had some great people along the way to give me some help, and here we are, almost getting ready to graduate, and I've actually been offered and accepted and been working a school counseling job at Valley Institute here in Washington County in Bristol, Virginia. So it's been an amazing ride, and I love to see what this program can do for you in the future.
Hi, my name is Erin Cardy. I'm a current student with the Doctor of Nurse Anesthesia practice at VCU, and I attend here at the Higher Education Center. I went to college locally here at the community college and got my nursing degree, and then also also locally at King University. I got my bachelor's before coming here. I've worked in the area. I'm from the area and I've lived here my entire life. My father actually also attended the program here at VCU. So I've seen what a huge impact it can have, and it has had a generational impact on my life and my family. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be able to stay in the area and not have to move hours away from my family.
I just think it's absolutely great that VCU and the Higher Ed Center here in Southwest Virginia have partnered together to provide this educational experience for kids that, can't quite make it to Richmond or don't want to live too far away from home. I just think that's absolutely fantastic.
Radford and the Higher Ed Center have definitely made a difference in my life.
King University and the Higher Education Center has made a difference in my life.
Keene University and Southwest Virginia Higher Ed Center has made a difference in my life.
Radford University and the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center has made a difference in my life.
VCU and the Higher Education Center has made a difference in my life.
Well, that's a 5-minute one. I think it was 5 minutes and 37 seconds. We just caught those students and had a cue stand against our logo. The King student was behind in the King room. So those are students we caught, but I want you board members to know that Virginia Tech and UVA-Wise and ODU and I'll think of the others in a minute. They're all doing wonderful. I just didn't grab any of their students. So their students, the stories are just as remarkable. I do want to say to my friends from Virginia Community College System, all 6 students graduated from one of our community colleges here in the region. Well, those stackable credentials, Delegate Joe Johnson, your story, what you did on the steps of our county when they told you the community college would never make it in Abington in 1966, and this higher education center wasn't needed. Your legacy lives on through those 6 people right there, sir. So before we transition to the Virginia Rural Technology Apprenticeship Program, I just want to stop and give you one more opportunity to ask me anything that has nothing to do with anything I've talked about yet. You got any questions for me?
Does anybody have any questions for David?
Okay. I've got some guests that's going to help us with the Virginia Rural Information Technology Apprenticeship Program. There is a tab, the very last tab. There are some guidelines, some code of Virginia, and a marketing piece there. For years, the whole time I've lived in Virginia, I've always heard about the shipbuilding apprenticeship program in Norfolk. I've always heard about that wonderful program out there. And a while back, working with some of our business industry with Senator Chapin and Delegate Kilgore, some legislation was put together and it was passed and it was signed into law into the Code of Virginia by our current governor in the summer of 2019 to create a rural Virginia apprentice program for IT. Now, COVID came along and we didn't get it funded last year or a year before last. But in the General Assembly session, thank you to my senators and delegates who were there supporting us, we received $1 million to launch this program this summer. It is a great program. It's going to be a game changer for our region. It appears, again, I've not seen the current governor's budget. I've not seen next year's budget, but I have reason to believe optimistically that we are in the budget once again, and that there's belief in Richmond that this program has value to Southwest Virginia. So we're not going to drive into a lot of weeds with this today, but the first person I'm going to invite up is Ms. Alicia Young, who is the administrator on behalf of the center for this program. And she's going to just hit a couple highlights with you. And then also we have Mark Eshley, and you brought Ryan? Jonathan Edwards, who's one of our apprentices with us. And then we also have some home run hitters from Corporate Image who are going to talk about how we're trying to market this program, because I do need some help from you. Alicia?
Good evening. There are 3 criteria that a business must meet before starting the application for the Virginia Rural IT Grant Program. Is they have to be headquartered in one of the 22 designated localities. They have to have fewer than 100 employees, and they must be a registered apprenticeship sponsor with Virginia's Department of Labor and Industry, or DOLE. The DOLE registration may take a few weeks, but it's critical to the program. They come out of the registration with the business creates a works process that identifies what skills the apprentice will achieve and how they're going to achieve that, what training they're going to do to achieve that. Once the business has all the 3 criteria in place, the application is accessed through the center's website. The steps of the application follow the guidelines that were approved by the state. Some of the items needed for the application are basic information about the business, including banking information, the book of business, the working environment for the apprentice and the mentor. And that's how you start the application. And Mark's going to tell you about that with Wise Solution because he's been through it and he's our first recipient of an apprenticeship grant. Does anybody have any questions on the application process? Okay. Next is Wise Solutions and Mark. Thank you.
Welcome, Mark.
My voice is low enough already. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight about this program. Before I talk about our application and what we've done, and by the way, I'm going to introduce Jonathan Evans here shortly, and he's going to give you his own personal experience with it and what it's meant to him. Before I do that, I want to just go back in time a little bit because some of my background has been heavily focused on economic development through prior jobs. One of the things I did is I traveled around the country, mostly the Southeast, looking for locations to establish IT delivery centers. And I did that with another very large IT company. And in doing that, one of the things that helped is that when you can walk in to an economic development meeting and dangle 300 or 400 or 500 jobs, it's amazing the attention you get. And that is, to some extent, an unfair advantage. And so we successfully did that. Now, the reality is, though, I would say probably 95% of the IT companies out there are less than 100 employees. So, the availability of programs to actually attract those kinds of companies, frankly, and Virginia is no exception, they frankly aren't out there. There are some programs, but there's nothing like what's available, for going after the big movers, the Amazons and all these large companies. So when we heard about this, and so we decided to form a company, and so Wise Solutions is an IT startup company. And fortunately, we had some very forward-thinking investors that were very focused not only on building a company, but on creating impacts for communities in rural areas. And they did a search and they chose Abingdon for a number of reasons, but mainly because of the whole Southwest Virginia area, the availability of educational resources, the investment that had been made in infrastructure build out like broadband. But what we lacked was the kind of leverage that we would have with a large company. So when we heard about this apprenticeship program, we were just ecstatic. And we heard about it back in 2019 because I will give credit definitely to Senator Chafin and Delegate Kilgore, but also all the local legislators. Senator Pillion was involved in it, Morgan Griffith. So we had some, we got some briefings on this earlier, and we're like, this is tremendous. We kind of provided a little input from an industry standpoint. And so they championed it. It got passed. We were thrilled about it. It was, I believe, it was a very bipartisan kind of a thing, and it got funding. It kind of got defunded, but the reality is, when this actually did get funded, we were so thrilled because it really, to me, it provides a missing link. It allows you to take advantage of this huge demand out there. IT is it's such a broad area, and there's so much demand, and there's so many ways you can get into it. But getting started is difficult because salaries are very high. It's not a lot of upfront capital, but hiring the right people, getting them in, building the talent, you've got to grow it. It's kind of a chicken and egg process because until you can show you've got these capabilities, it's hard to get a client to want to use you. But until you get the clients to pick you, it's hard to get that experience. So what this program does is it lets us get ahead of that curve. What we found is that there's tremendous talent coming out of this region. we've got access to some of the best IT programs literally in the country. ETSU, realize that's not in Virginia, but they crank out they've got a tremendous IT program. Radford, UVA Wise, we've started expanding now. The issue is there's a lot of great programs and a lot of investment that's been made in programs. But historically, from my perspective, what we've seen is that that's investment that has basically gone to create additional pipelines for areas outside of our region. Because once they come out with these degrees, there simply aren't the jobs. And so what this program will do is it will complete that supply chain, basically. It picks up where the graduation and the investment in education ends, and it funds the next step, which is really giving people that critical 1 to 2 years experience. Because once you've got that experience, now you've cracked the chicken's egg and you've got that experience and you're now marketable and sellable. So I agree with you, David. I think this is a game changer. It's something that we've been looking for a long, long time. So I'm just thrilled that, that it was here that we sort of had the, the support and the leadership that was required to get this thing in. And I think it's going to, I'm really thrilled. I think once this catches on, it'll build upon itself and we'll really be able to tap the, the potential of the, what I would call the micro approach to economic development. You got the macro where you go after the big companies. There's so much more to be mined out of entrepreneurs, and this area has tremendous entrepreneurship, DNA, and being able to now be able to support that is going to be the right combination, I think. So I just want to thank everybody who's involved in this. I think it's a great program. We were the first applicants because we were quick to jump on this, and we've brought in 2. One of us is right. One of them is right here today, Jonathan Evans, and I want to let him give a little bit of a personal testimonial. But our hope is that we can do way more. And by the way, those 2 are already placed on a client engagement. They're learning, a very marketable new technology. It's called robotic process automation. It's a precursor to artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that the things that they're learning are going to be cutting edge. So this is not just, and I'm not putting anything. But it's not help desk and call center. I mean, these are real, real honest to God, high quality, very skilled information technology careers that we're building. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan to give his perspective.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Evans. I'll just give a quick background about myself. I've been here most of my life in Abingdon. I went to Greendale Elementary, E.V. Stanley, Abingdon High School, and I also went to VHUC. I got my associates in business administration, specializing in IT there. And I enjoyed the IT so much, I went to Radford University and got a bachelor's in computer science. And I actually graduated earlier this year. In my job search, I wanted to stay in this area since I live in Abingdon and still do. But during my job search, I only saw certain help desk jobs and little simple service IT jobs until I came across Life Solutions. And I met and talked with them, and they explained the apprenticeship program and allowed me to get a high school job. As Mark was saying, I'm an RPA developer, robotic process automation. And if you search for certain jobs like that, you're not going to find anything that close to high school around here in Virginia without the apprenticeship program. And we are currently developing those processes. And without the apprenticeship program, I would have had to move to Virginia or a less rural area to achieve that job.
That's great. Thank you.
You see, I'm getting ready to introduce Rain, but you can see that this program is a game changer because what we're doing here is we are investing in people, we are investing in companies, and we are investing in this region. And that will pay dividends for years to come. Now, when the program was funded, and Alicia and I sat down, we've got to figure out how we're going to market this. How are we going to find these companies? So I picked up the phone call to the Secretary of Labor and her team and said, hey, we've got a list of all these companies. No, they didn't. So we're still working with some folks in Richmond. But then I found out that we had some really smart people, one of which had gone to Virginia Highlands Community College. and I had met him years ago. So I'm going to turn things over to Ray because we went into an engagement contract with Corporate Image to drill down. And Ray, as you come up, I've got that one handout. I'll pass it around, okay?
Thank you for having us up to speak on this. As David said, it's a matter of identifying these businesses. And Robbie and I were talking about this, talked about several times. This was definitely the most targeted digital marketing campaign we've ever been a part of. So the way we teed it up, went to tackle it from 3 different angles. We began with LinkedIn marketing. That's great for business to business. Set up ads to be delivered to the reader footprint, the 22 localities, and to individuals who are in information technology field, and they are at businesses with less than 200 employees. Well,
Okay, sorry.
yes, yeah. Even though the parameters for qualification is 100, that's not available in LinkedIn.
That's why we hired you.
So, there have been lots of we could have done 100, but for the LinkedIn campaign, it had to be more 200. So that was our first way that we attacked this. Second way was through Facebook campaigns. For anyone that we missed in LinkedIn, maybe they're not a member on LinkedIn for some reason. And again, targeting the reader footprint, and then to individuals who, according to those scary Google algorithms, look like they may be in the information technology field. So that was the digital marketing component of it, to try to deliver it to our target audience as much as possible. Third step of this was just good old fashioned Google legwork. Spent several days, many hours just typing in with county IT companies, computer development, GALACs. We had a list of terms. We would then, when these companies would come up, we would start researching them. Okay, here's a potential target for us to go after. Are they also based in one of the localities? There's many that are here, but maybe they're based in Washington or a different state. We began developing a target list from that with contacts, emails, phone numbers that we then provided to Alicia to do follow-up for her to send these folks emails, make calls. So that's the 3 layers of attack we took at this. And also Alicia sent them a digital flyer that we developed on the program. Concise messaging, calls to action, what the next steps are. So those kind of 3 layers. Our thought behind this was hammer away at these folks. When they log into LinkedIn, they're getting messaging on how great the reader program is, help young professionals grow in your area, in your field. When they log into Facebook, same thing, getting hit with these ads. And then follow up with Alicia as well. Hey, here's a real person, a voice that is attached to this program that's legit. And that's pretty much the rundown. That's the upper 10,000 foot view of what we've been doing today.
David, are we also targeting colleges, universities throughout Virginia that have computer programs? Like Jonathan was saying, he was at Radford,
Right.
and he got recruited. Are we targeting those programs?
We haven't started targeting those, that market yet, primarily because the funds will go directly to an employer who has to have gone through the Department of Labor process. Now, I think what might help us is, as we get into the graduation season, is going to the UVA Wises and the Radford and Bluefield University and places that have IT programs, ODU, and making students aware of this. So when they're job hunting and they find out that the company's located in Southwest Virginia, what a great market opportunity for them to say, well, you know, you may be eligible for an apprenticeship program, and let me tell you about it. So that's the big drawback we have right now that I need help with. That's what we need help with. I'm often asked by board members, how can we help you, David? So we have a program in place with guidelines approved and processed through the Attorney General's office. We do conflict of interest runs on all the companies. We've got everything in place. We're working with the Secretary of Labor. And now we just need to get these companies excited. Here's a hiccup. We've got companies in that list, initial list, and they're working through the Department of Labor process right now. But that's a little scary sometimes. It's not that complicated. I'll start saying Mark did it. But Mark, it took your organization about 35, 40 days. But for a little bit of time, there's a great return on investment. So I'm about to shut up about this and see if you have any questions, but let me give you just a real quick rundown. And if I mess it up, Alicia's really the brains here, okay? But if Josh has an IT company in Pennington Gap, and it's called Josh's IT in Pennington Gap, and he has a book of business, and we need to grow Josh, we need to grow that area. And Josh goes through the process with the Department of Labor here in Virginia to become an apprentice provider, and they will help him define what he's going to be teaching. When he hires a student out of Radford or UVA-wise or anywhere, we're going to pay 50 cents on the dollar of those wages and 50 cents on the dollar of the benefits for an 18-month period. Wow. So our $1 million we got is going to support, depending on entry-level salaries, the first round will support 14 to 18 apprentices. It's an 18-month process. And then hopefully then we have stronger companies, stronger graduates, because not only when Jonathan finishes this apprenticeship program, along the way, the Department of Labor provides a transcript. And so then he'll be able to say, I've got this degree from Radford, and just not experience, but he's going to say he has certified experience approved by the Department of Labor. It's going to make him a much stronger applicant if he was to ever.
So how many people have utilized this program so far? Did you say that?
We have 2 apprentices right now because we just.
But it just kicked off,
Yeah,
really.
we really only started taking applications really after Labor Day. And when we were able to start taking applications and working with the Department of Labor, we really didn't actually go out and meet new folks till late October, early November.
Right.
So we're just now at extreme infancy.
And they're both with Wise Solutions.
Yes, and again, how Wise kind of got the jump on everybody is when Senator Chafin, Delegate Kilgore, and others were working. They wanted to get some feedback. Well, how would this work? So they kind of had a little bit of a head start, and all that allowed them to do was complete the DOLE, the Department of Labor process, so that the day we said, hey, we can take applicants now, the Department of Labor process was already complete for them. We have people in the hopper. They're just going through the Department of Labor process right now. We have, we're working with a company over in, Alicia, Buchanan County, Grundy. We've had calls and we've turned some folks over to the Department of Labor from, I think the Galax. We have a software development company. We have Bristol IT. We have others. So where's that? Danville. Yeah, we have hits in Danville. So that's where I need some help. We'll get some more information out to you as we continue to work with corporate image. But if you know folks that have IT companies located in this footprint of 17 counties and 5 municipalities, we've got money and we want to invest. The Commonwealth wants to invest.
I have a question, David. When we say IT company, that feels like a little bit of a broad net. And so my question actually is, how broad is that net? For example, if it's a company that provides services as part of its core business, it may not be a programming company, for example, but there's IT related activity as a part of its business, would they qualify?
Well, they could. What we've done on those that might kind of fall in that area, gray area, we the Secretary of Labor has a point person, and so we have a committee of advisors. I'm not making that decision. Alicia's not making that decision. We have the Secretary of Labor's office. We have some IT professionals that are coming to us from companies with way more than 100 employees. We have a representative on our advisory board from Food City. We have a person on our advisory board who's over the Impact Lab at Radford. So when we get companies and they say, do I qualify? We're throwing it before the advisory board.
So my suggestion then for us as board members is, it's not our responsibility to make that determination, but if we have a company that we think may qualify, passing that information on, let the screeners manage it.
Exactly.
And don't necessarily waiting for Microsoft to.
Right. You get those names to Alicia, and Alicia will do the heavy lifting at that point.
Mark, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing to that, because we looked at this pretty closely, and I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, that the intent of this program is to target companies whose primary business is providing IT services in some way, shape, or form. So if you're a large company like Walmart, you might have a bigger IT organization than any of these companies, but that's not your core business.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. And the other thing I would say is we specifically, or specifically in there, you may ask, well, gee, what does it matter if it's a company that is headquartered in a regional area versus a company that's just hiring people and putting them there? So, large companies are very good at figuring ways around that program. So it'd be real easy to spin off a subsidiary, start a, do a startup. We said no. And the reason is because we want, we want companies that are invested in that region.
That's true.
Have their headquarters there because that's the sustainable part.
We worked really close with Ramona at the AG's office to make sure that when we get a company who's interested, their corporate headquarters, their corporate business structure, everything must be in that footprint. They just can't have an office in Abington and be from Charlotte. They have to be their corporation has to be functioning totally in that footprint.
And that's the beauty of also Wise Solutions, because Wise Solutions started their business subsidiary. They started a business here and has grown exponentially in the past.
Grown from me to I think we're at 20, 25 now.
Right out of the small business incubator. And this apprentice program will in turn help them continue to grow their business with homegrown folks. So
That's just another great example of a great place doing great things because of great people.
I wonder how you would work that into that. Hannah, go ahead.
I'd love to know a little bit more too about the process with the Department of Labor. Did you find it pretty easy to navigate when you had questions? They were attentive? Because I think that's another thing. That's intimidating to hear the Department of Labor.
Yeah, I will say we were fortunate. We got a representative who was very, very helpful and very responsive. And I think that's the key. What you don't want to do is, you can get things lost in inboxes and stuff. Well, I sent that. No, you didn't. So she was, that I think that's the key to the process, really just to keep that moving. I will say that the sense I got, because it's the first time we've done it, is that the apprenticeship program traditionally, historically, have been targeted more at like technical trade type jobs, so like, welders or, bricklayers, that sort of thing. So what we had to do is we had to kind of apply it to more of a professional information technology job. And they were very helpful in getting us to do that. So some of that has already been done. We kind of were the guinea pig. So I think that should go faster.
They speak the language a little bit better.
Yeah, you would.
And Hannah, I'd like to say that for the whole board, when we started this process, I was not familiar with apprentices. I wasn't familiar with how do you become an approved apprentice provider with the Department of Labor. So Alicia did her homework and they came here and they sat down with Alicia and I and they said, let us hold your hand and we're going to show you how to do this, David. We're going to show you how to do this, Alicia. And then Alicia has identified, because the bite of the service region is so large, all the way over to Danville, all the way up to Botetourt County. There's a couple different representatives because we slice their market. And so Alicia has built relationships with them. And now she can pick up the phone and say, hey, I just sent company ABC to you. And then they're working really close together. So this is not only important to us, it's important to the Department of Labor.
Any other questions for David or any of the folks that presented? Go ahead.
So this is about the recruiting the businesses to be a part of this. So what's the student portal on this?
Well, right now, there's not a student portal.
So
Right now,
you're still recruiting.
right
businesses.
now,
So
the
what's
big
time
focus,
frame? Yeah.
the big focus is we've got to find businesses that qualify, that have a book of business located here that's wanting to grow. And then, for example, with Wise Solutions, once they went through the Department of Labor, I suspect that now that they're approved, they could probably hire 10 apprentices tomorrow.
I was about to say that.
No, but I said, no, Mark. I've got other businesses I've got to take care of in this first round. And so.
But is there a limiting factor that Wise Solutions could only accept two?
Well, our board, the advisory board for this, that was our initial thoughts that we will, because we've got to get this word out and we're still struggling with that. So while we're getting it out, obviously Wise can have their two. But if we advertise this thing for a lengthy period of time and we find that there's barriers and maybe it's not as great as, well, I won't say that, it's a great program, but maybe it's hard to get that contagious enthusiasm then we may have to look over here and say, well, let's see if we can help WISE some more. Because this money doesn't need to be sitting there. It's like, it's like fertilizer. It's no good in the bag. You got to spread it around. And so.
Or you get more money.
Right, and well, and you're right, Mark, and the success of, like Jonathan's success story and the other student's success story will in turn help us. Sam and Travis and Delegate Johnson will tell you that if there's a success story to be told, then we're going to tell it in Richmond, and that will further strengthen the amount of money that we can get to return here for this program.
Exactly, and you bring up a good point that we have decided as working with corporate image. You saw, we just grabbed some students out of the hallway and just did that, just with a small camera. We're going to try to develop some really good information about the success of WISE and Jonathan and people like Jonathan, so that we can then take that across the network.
Great. Any questions or comments? That's exciting stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great stuff, sir.
It is great people. It's really great people doing great things. So thank you for that great presentation. Next on our agenda, we have a report from Adam Talbert. Adam, welcome you to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, members of the board. Just a brief announcement. I know we're approaching the end of the year. Everyone's looking forward to the holidays. And as we approach the end of the year, just a reminder about conflict of interest statements to citizen members on this board have to file one. And Kathy Heidel will be in touch with you near January 1st to send you instruction on how to file those financial disclosure statements, which cover activity that takes place during this calendar year 2021, January 1 to December 31st. Of course, if you're a legislator or a certain state employee, you might be required to file a statement of economic interest, and your agency will be in contact with you about how to do that if it applies to you. So just an announcement on that. Important stuff will be coming up, and thank you all for what you do, and let me know if you have any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Adam. And it's once again the time of year that we as a board, we elect officers at the June 2022 meeting. In anticipation of that election, I would like to appoint the following members to the officer nominated committee. And I think these members have been contacted and agreed to serve. Our citizen member will be Lenny Gale Mitchum. Legislative member will be Terry Kilgore, and the education member will be Adam Hutchinson. So we appreciate your willingness to serve on that. As always, an opportunity was provided for the public to comment and address the board, and also submit written comments for this meeting. That notification of either to be received by 5 p.m. today. And Adam, we did not receive any public comment or anyone wanting to speak. So I would like to thank everybody for being here. It's been a tough couple of years. We once again appreciate, I know Hannah's been participating in this. We appreciate the Higher Ed Center opening their doors to let us vaccinate a lot of Southwest Virginians that chose to be vaccinated. You've been a great community partner for that, as well as many other things. And we appreciate you all and your willingness to do that. And we also appreciate all the educational opportunities that you're providing here, much from the infancy that was started early on from Delegate Joe Johnson and Senator William Wampler. We appreciate, as always, Delegate Johnson, you being here. It's always great to see you at these meetings and everywhere else in town. And we appreciate you being here. With that, I would remind the board members the next meeting on our calendars should be Thursday, June 9th. That's a long way away. So you can mark in your calendars Thursday, June 9th of next year. We are having a reception upstairs that we welcome everyone to. It's on the second floor landing right at the steps. I'd love to see everyone there. And thank you for continuing to serve and do this for your community. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. So moved. Okay, great. I have a motion to adjourn. I have a second. All right. All in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, everyone.